Is Joshua Zirkzee Ineos's biggest transfer mistake so far? I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by that. It's not quite what you would think, but he is the talk of the town when it comes to the speculation columns right now on the rumour mill. Manchester United accepting that he will leave, even though they're not saying it in public. All the stories and what Ruben has said in the press conference. Of course, Rúben Amorim's press conference is today. We'll be back later on at this lunchtime with all of your live reaction to that press conference. He has been talking about Joshua Zirkzee in previous press conferences alongside Kobbie Mainoo. Fabrizio Romano has updated us on both of these players last night. We're going to get into that this morning and see what everybody thinks of these rumours and what is happening. I want to get your opinion on both of these players again. He's also touched on Mason Greenwood as well regarding the future of him and how much someone is willing to pay, how much Manchester United are going to get as well on top of that. Get into the live comment section, please, everybody. Make sure that you do get your comments in later on if you're playing catch-up or watching the show later on, of course, on Joshua Zirkzee. That is the main question. Is he the biggest transfer mistake? What do I mean by that? Well, he's the only player, really, realistically, that has been bought for a substantial amount of money by Ineos since they've been in control that isn't featuring for Manchester United at the moment. And you can balance this argument off and say, well, we didn't pay too much for him, which is a good thing, thankfully. But once again, Rúben Amorim is outing previous signings made by Erik ten Hag, in particular the last two summer windows. Now, don't get me wrong, you can also balance that out by saying, well, he uses Mason Mount. But look at Rasmus Højlund, look at Andre Onana. He's had 9 months with both of them players and they're out of the football club. They've not even been at the club for 2 years. Gone. We're now talking about Joshua Zirkzee from last season's summer transfer window, and he is now expecting to leave in January, according to these reports. There are contrasting reports on Zirkzee in terms of the actual transfer situation. We'll get into that first, and then we'll gauge your opinion on whether you think that Joshua Zirkzee was a mistake from Manchester United. But Fabrizio Romano was talking last night, and that's his quote going across the bottom of your screen right now. He has not asked to leave Manchester United. He does not want to leave. Like most players, this is similar to the Kobbie Mainoo situation at the moment. They don't want to leave, but they just want to play football. Kobbie Mainoo is a topic on his own, as we've discussed many a times. But Joshua Zirkzee, I mean, he doesn't stand a chance of playing for Manchester United in the coming couple of months at least. The only hope that he has got is that AFCON comes around, United lose both Ahmad, both Mbeumo, and obviously we're going to also lose Mazraoui in there as well. Not that he's impacting his position and where he could play, but realistically, you're looking at possibly losing potentially one of our first choice number 10s in the likes of Bryan Mbeumo. And then you're looking at maybe one of the stand-ins, possibly in Ahmad. When the fixtures get busy, players get moving around. And you could say Ahmad and Mbeumo are in the way of Joshua Zirkzee. I think everyone can agree that in terms of the pecking order, Zirkzee is way behind both of them too. So them are out of the way. But then you've got Mount, and you've got Bruno. And then you've got Cunha. You've got other 10s already in there that Manchester United could use. And there's talk of Shea Lacey coming through as well at Manchester United right now. And it doesn't look like he's going to have a chance to play. AFCON doesn't start till the back end of December anyway. So we've got to get through the whole entirety of November, the majority of December. So we're talking here approximately, 10 games perhaps for Joshua Zirkzee, where he's going to have to just sit there on the bench unless there is an emergency and Ruben's just throwing everything forward and we're just trying to get a goal from somewhere. That's it. He's going to feature for 5 and 10 minutes at most in the next 10 games in each game if he's lucky. So Manchester United and Joshua Zirkzee has been spoken about, like I said at the top, by Rúben Amorim in previous press conferences, and saying that he is a player that Manchester United need. We don't want to let any players go. There is no chance that Kobbie Mainoo is leaving Manchester United. Again, that has been brought up, and I'm sure with everything being nice, and in today's press conference, by that I mean, well, everything going well for Manchester United, back-to-back wins, not much negativity flying around. The media will drag something out of today's press conference. They always do. There will be questions asked about Zirkzee and Kobbie Mainoo again, I'm pretty sure. And Ruben is going to answer exactly the same way as he did the previous press conferences, in that nobody is leaving. We don't want anybody to leave. There are players. You'll get quotes like this flying around anyway. That'll all be later on. But secretly, there are some journalists and some tabloids reporting that Rúben Amorim has accepted that Joshua Zirkzee has to leave Manchester United. And that brings in Indy Kelly, who has said as well that both Everton and West Ham United are actively asking and pursuing Joshua Zirkzee in January. It would be a loan as it stands. That's the only news I've seen. I've not seen anything in terms of a permanent deal. Now, this isn't a bad thing, I don't think. In terms of Manchester United maximising the situation in terms of value of Joshua Zirkzee, a loan would be great because it would just mean that he gets the chance to play. He potentially gives himself an opportunity, if he does get a loan, to go out into the World Cup. If he impresses Ronald Koeman, that's a big ask because Koeman doesn't like him anyway. So I've not got my hopes up for him, sadly, for the World Cup. But if he plays at West Ham or at Everton and does well in the 6 months towards the back end of the season, then his value might go. Well, he might actually just meet his value. To be honest, at the moment, he's not worth anything to anyone because he's not playing. So £36.5 million that Manchester United paid for Joshua Zirkzee at the moment is just dwindling away. And I think this is where Ineos then step in. Right, we've made a mistake. We have made a mistake. We shouldn't have listened to what people were talking about because let's not forget, Joshua Zirkzee was scouted before Ineos came in. I was talking about Joshua Zirkzee in the January, and this was before the February kicked in when Ineos eventually took over in that season. So we knew that Joshua Zirkzee was a target for Manchester United way over a year ago, before we actually got into last summer's transfer window. The season before transfer window. So it's nearly 2 years ago, to be honest. I got that wrong there, sorry. And so Zirkzee was on the radar. Ineos listened to Manchester United people. We had, obviously, Erik ten Hag was in there at the time, and he thought he was the right type of player for Manchester United. Something different, Erik ten Hag described him as when he was coming into Manchester United. But nobody knew where he was going to play. What was his role? How was he going to fit into the system? He never fitted into Erik ten Hag's system. He's got no chance of fitting into Rúben Amorim's system. He came in last season because we were lacking in numbers. We have now got a fully fit Mason Mount, Matthias Cunha and Brian Mbeumo also in that position. So I think they've accepted that this is a mistake. And Ineos have to step in here and say, right, okay, we are not going to cling on to players that are not featuring. If we have to send this player out on loan, this will be the communication between them and Rúben Amorim. Then to get his value or meet his value, then we could sell him in the summer and cut our losses. It will be 2 years of Joshua Zirkzee and probably a loss on the overall books. But by the time Manchester United get to that 2-year period, Joshua Zirkzee will be pretty much all paid off anyway. And we'll probably make, if we do sell him, £20 to £25 million player at the moment, unless he really kicks on. Ineos may try and get their money back in total and turn a tiny little bit of profit on the books. We'll see. But I think the overriding feeling is that Joshua Zirkzee's time at Manchester United is well and truly over, and he is actually for sale. No one's going to buy him in January. He has to get that loan and then work his way up again in value, and Manchester United sell him in the summer, and that will be another player then added to Manchester United's, financial coffers of players that we've sold. Let's just call it that. It's crap, that one. Sorry. But you know what I mean. He's going to go into the pots and into the kitty in terms of funds and what's available, and United can then go and spend that money in the summer transfer window. I just don't see the future for him. I think even if you look at it and try and build a defence for Joshua Zirkzee right now, reality smacks you in the face and tells you that he isn't going to feature for Manchester United. He's just not going to get the starts that he needs. And as much as he wants to stay and loves United, and I can't fault that, I would be the same, obviously, but a decision is going to be made for him. And I think Rúben Amorim, the report actually is, and there's a report coming from a couple of newspapers as well, that secretly behind the scenes, Rúben Amorim has said that Joshua Zirkzee is leaving. He has green-lighted the move for Zirkzee to move away from United this January. And it does look like, and don't get me wrong, there are obviously Italian clubs interested as well. United will pursue a sale, but it's more likely going to be a loan for Joshua Zirkzee. Look, we all know that he's going. We all know he's not going to feature, and we can make up whatever defence we want for him. But I think from what Romano's saying, even Romano, who has said before, from what he said last night, so previously he has said that Joshua Zirkzee does not want to leave Manchester United. Even last night when he said, but this could change in January. We're already getting hints from Romano now that something could be coming. He wouldn't obviously jump the gun too soon unless he got a definite. Like I've said many times before, other tabloids, journalists can go a little bit crazier than what Romano can do. He has got a massive reputation, obviously, to upkeep. And when he starts to drop subtle little hints, you pay attention to them. And the fact that he is now talking that Joshua Zirkzee could leave in January and this could change means something is coming, and word is starting to spread that his agents are probably asking the question, speaking to, obviously, other football clubs, and Romano will get wind of this. There are other people saying it's definitely done. Romano won't yet, because we're not close to the window, and Romano will only come out and say it's when it's on 100% sort of basis. So expect this to now move forward in January. And I think we can safely say that Joshua Zirkzee was a mistake. And what I meant at the top of the show, when we were talking about the biggest mistake Ineos has made so far, I don't think Joshua Zirkzee is a bad player. I don't think he is the worst player in Manchester United's squad. I don't. I just feel like they went in on that first transfer window, and this was Man United's first signing, I think, as well. I'm pretty certain it was our first signing under Ineos, and it was Joshua Zirkzee. And he is the first one to go out of Ineos' bunch, because all of the other players that were actually bought by Ineos last summer, the summer before, they're all featuring heavily in Manchester United's side and contributing a lot at the moment. Your Mazraouis and your De Ligts. Obviously, the Agate debate is out there, but he is still playing a lot more than what Joshua Zirkzee is. And of course, the new signings from this summer also, that Patrick Dorgu in the last January transfer window. Aidan Heaven, he was only 1.5 million. He was bought in, obviously, with a as an option for Manchester United to develop and bring him through eventually. So can't really count Heaven because we didn't really pay much for him. But anyone who was bought for substantial amounts of money, and Zirkzee does fall into this category, he is probably the biggest mistake that we've made so far. And that, I think, really, it is pretty much backed up by the fact that 18 months down the line, he's looking for the exit door. That is a quick turnaround. And you know what? There is me thinking here that, yes, this was a mistake. Don't make the mistake in the first place. Don't make the mistake in the first place. Try and sort that out for the future. But at least they're acting on it and they're accepting their mistake here, and we can try and move him on. And the other good thing about this is we did not pay a lot of money for Joshua Zirkzee, so we have got a good chance of recouping what we actually did fork out for him eventually anyway, and it's not going to be a complete loss for Manchester United. So hopefully he does get a low move. I would love to see him in Man United side in some aspect if he's happy to do that, but he wants to play games. Footballers want to be on the pitch, and we know the inevitable outcome from this is that he's just going to end up being one of them bench players that just rots away. And Ineos are not prepared to do that. They're not prepared to have people sat on big wages doing nothing. And this is why I feel Zirkzee will leave and Shea Lacey will step in. And I think this is the plan. That option there with an academy player there isn't as bad because he's not going to kick up as much of a stink as the likes of Joshua Zirkzee. And I think Ruben would actually use Lacey more than Zirkzee would, than he would with Zirkzee. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? It does, but I mean, you tell me, where does Joshua Zirkzee fit in at Manchester United? Where does he play? Who does he come in for? Get into the comment section now, everybody. Let's open this up. First of all, quick super chats in from Sunset again, who says, do you think Zirkzee was given a fair chance? No, he wasn't, but football isn't fair at the highest level, is it? I think it was the wrong signing, which is why I've started the show by saying, was Joshua Zirkzee Ineos' biggest mistake? We did not need that type of player in that summer transfer window. We needed a striker. Again, the previous window, we needed a striker. We didn't get him. We got Højlund. Then we brought Zirkzee in afterwards. For some reason, I remember the description. I remember what people were saying and what Ten Hag said when Zirkzee was brought in. And it was, he brings us something different. It gives us that. Different attacking quality. Now, Zirkzee, yes, he does have absolute qualities. He really does. But you're not going to drop Cunningham and Bumo. You're not going to drop Mount. Ahmad would step in there and Bruno would step in there before Joshua Zirkzee actually came on the pitch. And to be honest, he does impact Kobbie Mainoo as well. Because if you are losing Brian and Mbeumo and you are losing Ahmad, then you would think Bruno Fernandes would be the man that stepped forward, therefore giving Kobbie Mainoo a chance in midfield. So if Zirkzee was coming on, then Kobbie Mainoo would not be getting any game time because Bruno would stay at 8 and Zirkzee would substitute for Mbeumo. And there we've got Kobbie Mainoo, who I think he's a bigger talent than what Joshua Zirkzee is. And again, I feel really bad in saying that because I do think there are qualities in Zirkzee's game, but I just don't think he's going to fit. And the future of Manchester United probably is more all centering around Kobbie Mainoo, and that's the biggest story. If Zirkzee starts playing and Mainoo stays on the bench, then United have got a bigger problem then. So I think it's easier for United to move Zirkzee on, and all around, I think they have to accept that this was a mistake in just bringing him in the first place. It was poor recruitment again for Manchester United, and that's the problem. It's not Zirkzee's fault. It's not Rúben Amorim's fault. It's what was there before and poor decision making. Let's not forget, Ineos was still in between trying to fix their own backroom staff and recruitment team and management team and board. And there were mistakes made within that as well. And this was all in the time when Zirkzee was brought through. I just think he is a victim of the craziness and the carnage that was the first year of Ineos in sorting out their staff and everything that was going on. I just didn't think there was anything cohesive or working right in that time, and he was a victim of that, I feel. And so, my opinion overall on that on Joshua Zirkzee. But I'm just going to scroll up and randomly stop just to bring in some comments on Zirkzee overall. I think we are going to see the back end of him now. I would love for him to come on the odd occasion off the bench and score a goal or something and be properly celebrated because he deserves a little bit more than what he's had at Manchester United. But again, the recruitment side has killed him. If Zirkzee was going to play, we wouldn't have bought 2 number 10s. The writing is on the wall for Zirkzee. True. Ruben needs to stop telling people his secrets if we all know about them too. Well, looking at that, it's not me who writes the actual secret bit on that, but behind the scenes, it's being reported that Zirkzee... Do you know what? I think even if you try and bring Ruben into this, I don't think anybody is surprised by this news and what's actually happening and what people are talking about. Because, like I said, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what's happening at United. There's no room for him. See it. See you later. Hopefully he does well elsewhere on loan. Zirkzee isn't a striker, doesn't have the hunger to be the first. It goes wild if he gets a tap in like a kid at a soccer school to mum. He's got ability, but he's neither Wazza, Teddy, Robbie Van Persie or Ronnie. Not elite at all. I tell you what, David, you're really not being fair on him there with the comparison of players. My God, mate, like, can't you compare him to a Rasmus or a Weghorst? Give him a chance. But you've just gone down nostalgia road there, buddy, and just, you know what I mean. It's a bit harsh. Yeah, I think he's better than some of the others since that list of players that you have labelled there, I've commented on there. The Premier is far too intense for Zirkzee. In Italy, the pace is much slower, and he thrived over there. Pretty much like Rasmus Højlund, you could say, in a way. I blame Erik ten Hag for money laundering on Zirkzee deal, says Stu. Even if Zirkzee plays well, it doesn't mean he's going to play for Holland. I don't think Ronald Koeman rates him. I said that a minute ago as well. I don't, Shane. Honestly, you're right, mate, on that one. Just look at De Ligt. He's been excellent for us. Ronald Koeman is an absolute ass. Honestly, I don't like that man anyway. I've never liked him since he got away with what he did to David Platt. In getting Graham Taylor the sack, and I'm going right back then. He's a slime ball of a man, he really is. And I tell you what a midry ass he is as well. I've never liked Ronald Koeman. That's just my own opinion of him. But I'm happy that he doesn't like Man United players. Not for them, but for me, selfishly, as a United fan, I'm happy that they're not playing too many games on international duty and they're coming back to United fully fit every international break. But Zirkzee can't play internationally, can't play club level. He needs to go. And that, again, is like writing on the wall. 100% it's on the wall. I just don't see how he survives. Super chat in from Huggy Boy. Thank you very much, mate. Love that. Thank you for the last 2 years, FUTV, while going through a bitter divorce, beating Liverpool, divorced today. And if we can beat Brighton, I feel like the good times are coming. Such an amazing channel. Legend post right there from Huggy Boy. That is amazing, mates. Really happy that we have helped you out, and you have been a constant member and involved in many of the shows, mate. Actually a mod as well, so really appreciate the shout out there, mate, and the super chat on that. But good for you, mates. I'll have a beer this weekend celebrating Manchester United's victory for you as well. We are going to be mixing up the content tomorrow for match day as well. More on that probably in the morning show at 8 o'clock tomorrow, just to give you an idea. But obviously we're at the game tomorrow, so it's going to be a little bit different, but we are going to try and jam-pack the content in there as well. Build this up to what it is. Like we were saying last night, it is a huge weekend for Manchester United this weekend. The time for sentimentality is over, says Ant. Mate, how many times do I said it? Forget your nostalgia road and your sentimental crap. Big, hard, tough decisions are needed at Manchester United. I feel sorry for Zirkzee because he hasn't been given a chance, but someone needs to make this call. And I think it has been made now, and all of the stories going around are that they have, I feel, made the right decision anyway. And going off what everybody's saying in the chat here, I also think that you all feel like this is the right choice, and Zirkzee will thrive elsewhere. He will. One of the things they say about Zirkzee, when he came in, he played as a 9.5. He was supposed to be a facility to get the best out of Rash and Garnacho. Yeah. I mean, Glenn, good point there. I remember the 9.5. I can't remember who it was who labelled him a 9.5. Even Rúben Amorim, I think, said it at one point. But he said he's not a 10, he's not a 9. He's a 9.5. He's somewhere in the middle. And for some team out there, I think he will do really well. I really do. I think a Juventus, a Napoli, I think he'd be a good fit. I would not go to West Ham if I was him. I think he would be absolutely destroying any slim hope of getting into the World Cup by going to West Ham. That is a car crash of a football club right now. People forget we went after Sesko and didn't get him. Zirkzee was a backup, and now we have Sesko. Zirkzee is a victim of bad timing. No, we didn't go for Sesko first, mate. Like I said, we were all in on Joshua Zirkzee 2 years ago in January. And I remember sat outside Salford Quays, outside Old Trafford, reporting on the news. Zirkzee was first. That's why he was the first signing of that summer. He wasn't after Benjamin Sesko. Manchester United were trying to get another striker on top. See, Zirkzee was brought in as a different option. He wasn't brought in as a number 9. He never was. And that's why Ten Hag labelled him something different. But it was all a mess at the time. It really was. Sorry, I don't agree. Lane, who's not better than Zirkzee. Lane? Who's Lane? He holds the ball up way better, got better touch. I think he's about football player in general, and he probably moves quicker too. Who is Lane? I think there might have been a typo on that word. Be interesting to see who you're comparing to there. First Zirkzee, then Menu, all techie players being tossed away by Ruben. It's a joke. Well, not tossed away. Manchester United, if we keep on winning games, we don't have an argument against this. And this is what I've always said. Remember when we said a few weeks ago, if Man United keep on winning, then Menu can't complain. Zirkzee can't complain. It's because United have been so inconsistent, their agents and their personal side of things have really got an argument in this. If United are doing well, then nobody has got any sort of case, really, for wanting to go to the manager and say, look, I need to be playing. This is the thing we need to actually get. Was it Kane? It might have been Kane that was being compared to there. And I feel for them players now, this is what was necessary. This is what's needed. They need to see that the team can cope without them, and they need to work harder to get back in the side. Now, again, the argument is always going to be there in Mainu's case. Bruno hasn't been great this season. Moments here and there. And Mainu's been nowhere near the starting lineup. Not one Premier League game this season. And we are now 8 games in. So I think the writing's on the wall there. And Zirkzee is, I feel, a victim of that situation as well, like I've just described? Because if indeed Mbeumo is out, which we're expecting, which he will be, on international duty, does Bruno move up and then Cobby steps in? Is that the plan for Rúben Amorim? I think that's how he's selling it. In that case, Zirkzee's done. Simple as. Morning, Adam and everyone. Mbeumo might not go to AFCON because Cameroon must play a round of playoffs, and the teams in there are really good. Honestly, I'm going to hold my hands up right here now and say I haven't watched enough. I'm going to have to get to grips with where everyone's at in AFCON. So if Cameroon don't do well in these playoffs, like what Leah said there, Mbeumo might not be going. I mean, selfishly, I would celebrate that. Unfortunate for Mbeumo, but I would celebrate that massively because that would be a huge boost for Manchester United. And again, I think are these playoffs coming in the next international break? So it'll be intriguing to see exactly what happens there. I'll do some research on that. Thank you so much for that, Lee, just for bringing that to our attention as well, buddy. Really appreciate that, mate. That's why this community's on top. We're just a football family, aren't we? You love everything about football. I have been neglecting what was happening in AFCON because I hate it, because it gets right in the way of the season. I'll be honest, I'm a selfish Man United fan, but I'll have a look at that later and bring that up as well. The 9 shirt is left vacant for senior striker. Who is it? And that's from Steve, who's just renewed his membership as well. Thank you, Steve. I can believe people are acting like Zirkzee has been good for us. He's barely played and had a few good touches. That's it. He only looked good because Rasmus couldn't control a lead weight. That'd be a bit painful, wouldn't it? But yeah, you know what I'm saying, mate. When you look at Zirkzee and what he would bring to this current Manchester United side, who do you drop? No one. Honestly, I don't think there's one person in the chat that has put up a decent enough case. Daniel Luciano says Cameroon is already locked into AFCON. I didn't know. I think he's thinking of Nigeria, maybe. Okay, so we are going to lose Mbeumo then. Daniel has just rectified that. But, I mean, I'll double check anyway, but keep a check on it, everybody. For qualifying for the World Cup, not AFCON, Cameroon will be playing in AFCON. Yeah, I think most people have covered that. I said I don't know. I haven't been keeping on top of AFCON at all, admittedly. But yeah, right into the other news that Romano was talking about, and again, same thing and story that we were talking about regarding Mason Greenwood, and Mason Greenwood actually being a real prize for Manchester United this coming summer transfer window. Romano was talking last night that Manchester United take 50% of any transfer for Mason Greenwood. That's not the case, and I'm pretty confident that that isn't the case, because The Athletic reported, and I have been always reporting it, that it's 50% of any profit on the transfer that was originally made from Man United to Marseille. So 27 million, basically. So if, let's say, for instance, they sell him for 77 million, and that's 50 million profit, Manchester United take 25 million out of that. You're looking at 20 to 30 million at the moment United are going to make off Mason Greenwood. But that's pure profit as well. Homegrown talent, pure profit, and as a bonus for Manchester United. And when Mason Greenwood is sold, which is a definite, he will be going, then he will be Manchester United's highest transfer fee overall for a player since Cristiano Ronaldo's record-breaking 18 million move all them years ago. That's how important this is and how big it is. And again, the importance of Man United's academy, and Sir Jim Radcliffe will love this deal anyway. But don't forget, it was Ineos that sold Greenwood 2 seasons ago as well and put in that sell-on clause to the contract. Now, Romano, talking about Mason Greenwood, has said that last summer teams were willing to pay big money for Mason Greenwood, but Marseille held out. Now, the form, like I said before, Mason Greenwood is averaging a goal involvement a game at the moment for Marseille. He's on fantastic form. He scored 4 last time out. He didn't get the rub of the green again against Sporting in the Champions League the other night, but still performing at a highest level. Obviously leading goal scorer in League 1 alongside Dembele last season. Already well on track for that again this season. If he continues to go this way, United could be looking at a transfer happening here between 70 and 80 million. So United minimum in terms of what we are going to take, according to the numbers so far, if they stay the same and the form stays for Greenwood and nothing falls off, and when Marseille sell him, United are looking at a minimum of 25 million to 30 million to come in, and that will definitely boost Manchester United's spending power this summer also. I've said before in that previous show, you can imagine you've got that. You've got Rasmus Højlund coming in. Potential that we're talking about here with Joshua Zirkzee also. You get rid of the wages of Casemiro and potentially Bruno Fernandes sale also. And then you've got, of course, Marcus Rashford on top of that. And Marcus Rashford has been opening up again about talking about staying in Barcelona. Just nothing really new on Marcus Rashford. Just more and more talks from him, opening up an awful lot more now that he's playing well. Look, I get it. You're playing well. Nothing's going wrong off the pitch at the moment, and he's more open to talking. It's inevitable. Back at Manchester United, everything was going wrong off the pitch, and you're never really going to hear from Marcus Rashford. So I'm not going to hold it against him for coming out and talking more. But I think ultimately, anyway, it's a real positive for Manchester United, because Marcus Rashford leaving Manchester United and being comfortable and wanting to leave us is going to give us that extra boost. And I said this before, Rashford and Greenwood could bring in over £50 million worth of pure profit for Manchester United this summer. And then you add into it, like I said, the £38 million on Rasmus Højlund. You're already there talking near 90 million in actual player sales without moving Bruno Fernandes on. And that is still a topic. Manchester United could have already, in the works, and check this out, near, depending on Bruno's fee, a minimum £150 million worth of player sales before we've even kick-started, brought in prize money, or seen when we've finished in the league and watch European football we've got next season. This would be absolutely huge for Manchester United. So, yeah, all of these talks on Mason Greenwood, all the talks on Zirkzee, you could even bring Kobbie Mainoo into this as well. Manchester United have got a lot in the works in terms of what's going to be coming in this summer transfer window. So, yeah, that is something to also keep an eye on, a big eye on. Wasn't there a weird thing where United could buy a larger percentage of Mason Greenwood's sale? Honestly, there's so many different stories with transfers these days. They're so complex. And Glenn, I'm not too sure. Mate, on this one. I can vaguely remember something along them lines, but from what Romano's saying now, 50%, look, either way, United are going to be set to make a decent amount of money out of Mason Greenwood. And I think in the end, it worked out to be the right decision to sell him on. It's taken a while to get to this stage. And obviously, we've still got a few months to go yet. So let's see if he continues his form. And let's see if Manchester United can max out on this deal. Andreas says, sorry, Adam, unpopular opinion. He should have stayed. He was found innocent and even married the girl, etc. He could have helped a lot in the years past. That is a sore subject, mate, on that one. And everyone has had their say on Mason Greenwood before, but at the time, it was the right decision for Manchester United, in my opinion. It really was. There was so much unrest amongst the fan base and what was going on. I think it was the right call for Manchester United to sell him. Look, I would have loved it that nothing happened with Mason Greenwood and he was still here. But that subject is all there. And everyone can see and everyone heard what they heard. And it would have just been a sour taste left. Yes, you could say that the lad was found innocent in the end. There was no charges brought. But I cannot unsee what I saw in them clips or unhear what I heard in them clips. And that is where everyone is going to be at. And you'll all be making your opinions up behind the scenes. I get what you're saying, mate. I really do. But it's a problem that we don't have now. And the good thing is we're not dealing with it, and we could potentially be earning from it. And that's the best way to look at it, I feel. Like United do have a real chance here to maximise the profits on that player, and that's where I think it is all leading to. I don't make Zirkzee, but he is better than Chido, and we don't have a second striker. What are people on about here? I am a confirmed Amorim backer, but I'm not sure about his striker selections at times. Cunha is second striker to Benjamin Sesko, mate. Then you've got Chido. In a one-man striker system, we have got enough in Rúben Amorim's eyes. With no European football and a massive schedule, Zirkzee is surplus to requirements. I get what you're saying, but this is how he would lay it out. Cunha is second. We know this because that's how he's played it this season so far. And Zirkzee has been sat on the bench while Cunha's been playing full 90 minutes in the number 9 position, and then Sesko's coming off the bench. So, yeah, I don't think that we are short in numbers. I don't think we need another striker right now. I think next season we definitely do with multiple competitions, but let's not forget, like, it's one game a week. United have got no injuries. I know that can change instantly, but I think we've got enough for rotation. And I think looking at it, I think that's how they've based it. They've based their decision off the amount of games that we've got this season, and I think that's where it's going to stay. Super chat in from Ant again. Some lines should never be crossed. Unforgivable. Lucky. I'm not even going to get into this conversation. I get what everybody's saying. Everyone's got an opinion on it. He's gone, and let's just take that money and go and get something else. Somebody else. I think if by December we are in the top 5, Ineos will buy a midfielder. Champions League is priority. Where do you think we are going to be when December comes around, everybody? Get into the comment section. Let me know. Where do you think Manchester United will be in the league? You're looking at that league table now and you're getting a little bit excited. I know, I am myself. But you can't help but feel a bit excited because you're looking at it, and a win this weekend would take us ahead of Liverpool, the champions from last season. That would be astonishing. It would. I know they play later on in the evening against Brentford. Not an easy game for Liverpool, by the way, at that one. But if United did beat Brighton this weekend, then we would move into the top 4, barring other results. And let me just bring up the actual fixtures as well. So this weekend, in terms of the games and teams above Manchester United, what can be affected tomorrow? 3 o'clock kickoff, Chelsea versus Sunderland. I'd take a nice little draw there. But Manchester United there obviously can leapfrog one, if not both of them sides when you look at it. Newcastle Fulham is another tight game in and around us. United against Brighton. Wolves Burnley is not going to affect us. Brentford versus Liverpool could really affect what happens. Then on Sunday, you've got Crystal Palace Arsenal, 2 more teams that are above us playing each other. So another chance for United to actually leapfrog Crystal Palace. If it's a draw or a loss for them, I could see Arsenal winning that game. Aston Villa versus Manchester City. Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest. These are all games I think could really impact Manchester United. But by Saturday, what we're looking at here is, when you look at the league table again and the teams that are actually playing and the way that it actually works for Manchester United, we are going to leapfrog Crystal Palace. We should leapfrog Sunderland. We should take Spurs because they're not playing until the Sunday either. Chelsea's going to be interesting. We'll see. We should leapfrog Bournemouth and Liverpool. So effectively, yes, Manchester United with a win this Saturday. By the time the Saturday fixtures are finished, we should be in that top 4 with a win, going off all of the results. And that, you can't deny, that would be something to see, wouldn't it? And then you start to get excited. You start to really look at it and go, ooh, maybe we could be sat there at Old Trafford next season on the Tuesday and Wednesday nights in Europe instead of the Thursday nights. I'll take the Thursday nights right now if you offered them me. I would. I don't like it. I don't like Thursday, Sunday. But I tell you what, one thing that I've learned so far this season is I cannot handle not having midweek football for Manchester United. It has literally destroyed me. It has. Look, it could all go completely wrong and United could be in the bottom half of the table as well after the Brighton game. And that's the big worry. If United lose to Brighton, oh, God, it is a massive step back. And I think an absolute gut kick for us. That would be the ultimate disappointment, I think, for Man United. Looking at that league table now, we would actually be back into the bottom half of the table. It would be so disappointing, but it'd be gutting to lose at home again, because I've said this so many times over the last few weeks that United's home form is good this season. But a win would also potentially take us into plus goal difference as well, which is something that we just don't see these days with Manchester United. So hopefully this is right. I mean, when you look at it, Manchester United's defence isn't the best. It's the worst in the top 10. So that's something to worry about. And when it comes to goals scored, it is probably, it's the second worst in the top 10. But results are good. Results are there. Like, we've won as many games as Bournemouth this season, who are in the top 4 right now. We've won as many games as Chelsea this season, Spurs this season, and everyone's talking about these teams challenging for the European places. It is about how many games you actually win. We can start scoring a few more goals. We can really start climbing that table. But that's where Manchester United are at right now. And it is all dependent on this game this weekend. It's going to be tough. It is going to be incredibly difficult. A hard watch, I think. A very, very tough one. I meant in football sense, this is Andreas with a super chat on Mason Greenwood, I think. But it was better for Mason to leave. Just such a loss of a great talent. Wish nothing happened with him. Mason subject closed. Yeah, mate, I'm the same with you on that, Andreas. I do think that he would have been an absolute baller for Manchester United. He would have really, I feel, stopped any sort of issue that we've got right now. Like, we would have already had our striker in place. Mason Greenwood would have been brilliant, but what is. In the first game we played session with Arsenal and City in January, with a chance to really challenge. We did 2 loan deal strongly, is that supposed to say? There's an S in there that shouldn't be there. We played them both. Strangely, we played them both, I think, in Jan again. Yeah, we do. We have got back-to-back games against Arsenal and Manchester City in the January. In fact, just to bring up Manchester United's games in terms of what we have got. We know we've got Brighton, then it's Forest, Spurs away, Everton at home, Crystal Palace away, West Ham home, Wolves away, Bournemouth home, Villa away, Newcastle home, Wolves at home. That is all that's left in 2025. So when we're talking about Joshua Zirkzee there, what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 more games to play before we hit 2026. And it is 2026 with a bang. We're eased in by games against Leeds and Burnley in the first week of the new year. And then it's Manchester City and Arsenal back-to-back. And 2 games later we play Spurs as well. So I think in January/February and that changeover, them 2 months there, I think Manchester United will know what we're going for. And I think that will prompt Manchester United into maybe trying to get somebody in the transfer window as well. Because Manchester United have got a very, very difficult last 5 games, I feel, anyway. Liverpool at home on May 2nd. It's going to be tough. And Brighton away on the last game of the season. That is not an easy game. That is a nightmare for Manchester United. And who knows where we'll be at that point? Who knows? It's a long way off, but a win at weekend would definitely put us in an unbelievable position compared to where we have been before. And I think would give us all a little bit of confidence going forward. Don't forget, later on, everybody, approximately, let me double check actually. Just going to check on the press conference and what we're looking at for this afternoon. The times are changed on this press conference all of the bloody time. Right. Yep, no, it's normal today. So we are going to be live around about 1:15, everybody, for the Rúben Amorim press conference. Live reaction to everything the manager says ahead of the Brighton game tomorrow. Looking forward to it. The embargo version won't be far behind either, with the game being on Saturday, so we'll expect that the following morning. So tomorrow morning we'll expect the embargoed version quite quickly. So quite a lot to come over the next 24 hours regarding Rúben Amorim and what he thinks. Later on, we've got plenty of content today for you. We're going to do a call-in show as well, straight after the press conference later on as well, over on Big Up. So we're going to set that up and be ready to go for that, everybody, please, later. That will come after the presser. We'll talk about that, so you can come and call in and have your say also on what's going on. And yeah, don't forget, everybody, as well, this weekend is a massive weekend for Match Bingo as well. Grab your cards now. Scan the QR code on your screen, everybody. The link is also in the live chat and in the description. We've pinned it in the live chat for you there as well. Grab your tickets now. Download the app off that link or scanning the QR code. Create your account for free. Deposit your money in. But when you deposit your money in, put in the promo code FUTV, all capitals, to double your money, people. 100% boost on that deposit amount on Match Bingo this weekend. It is 5 cards for the price of 4, only £2 a card. Join the rest of the gang here on Forever United TV that have already won big on Match Bingo. Get involved. You are missing out if you haven't already got your cards and been involved in the game. It is a load of fun. Banter with your mates on match day. Any game you want, not just Manchester United versus Brighton. Get in there now, everybody, and be one of the winners this weekend. The game plays itself. It's dead easy. And please, obviously, gamble aware. Be 18 plus to play, and a UK resident also. Thank you, everybody, on that. And thanks to Match Bingo. It's going to be a busy old weekend. And that is it for this morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being part of the show again. Don't forget, we are back around about 1 o'clock this afternoon for Rúben Amorim's press conference live reaction. So be there for that as we go through all of the comments and quotes from the presser. And then we're going to have a call-in right after that as well on Big Up, so you can have your say ahead of Brighton and after that press conference this afternoon. Please give the video a like on the way out. Make sure you have that subscribe button as well, everybody. I'll see you all at lunchtime. Have a fantastic